What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, NFL world? How you doing, division rivals? This is Stephen Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever it is you get around to watching this. Once again, guys, Stephen Hyder, Gate City Sports Channel. All right, y'all, today's topic. Listen, as you watch film on guys, I think you start to realize certain trends. One of the things I noticed when I was studying Van Jefferson this past weekend for yesterday's video was I started to notice that what NFL analysts are saying about how there are certain types of receivers that can be gained in every round. It's true, guys. Today, what I'm going to show you, and listen, I watched 4 games watching Jerry Jeudy, okay? I watched the Michigan, the LSU, the Clemson, and the South Carolina game, okay? Of those 4 games, I pulled about 20 routes out of those and really analyzed those 20 routes that Jeudy was running. And what I noticed is Jeudy, Jefferson, and Jefferson. So Justin and then Van Jefferson. Man, these are very similar football players, guys. These are those guys who a lot of analysts might say they're slotted to play in the slot, but they have that X and Z capability, so they can play outside. This is a group of players I will call the Michael Thomas kind of Devontae Adams group, right? These positionalist or their alignment isn't necessarily like they can play whatever they want to play type of guys, all right? I think there are tiers to this, right? I mean, I think Jerry Jeudy is tier 1. I think Justin Jefferson is tier 2, and I think Van Jefferson is tier 3 to these type of players. But with that said, I don't think what separates Jerry Jeudy from Justin Jefferson as much as people think, and Justin Jefferson from Van Jefferson is as much as people think. And I don't really even think that there's a huge difference between Van Jefferson and Jerry Jeudy. I mean, Jerry Judy's the better player, no doubt about it, but that separation isn't as great as people think. Look, you see it on film sometimes, you notice it. I'll say this about Jerry Jeudy, guys, as my little final piece where we kick into the film. I thought Jerry Jeudy, when you watch his film, I got to tell you guys, I would not be shocked if he's not the first receiver off the board. I think there's some momentum right now going for CeeDee Lamb, don't get me wrong, but I think when teams turn on the film, it's going to be obvious why Jerry Jeudy is the dude. He's the guy. And I wouldn't be shocked. That's all I'm going to say. I think it's going to depend on what team picks, but if San Francisco is that first team to take a receiver off the board, I wouldn't be shocked if they chose Jerry Jeudy.
Team to play very well today. Play with a lot of intensity. And Matt Jones going downtown here on the first play to Jeudy.
Positional alignment for Jerry Jeudy. Guys, Jerry Jeudy is very similar to Justin Jefferson, although I do think that you can see a little more film from 2019 of Jeudy playing outside. To see film on Justin Jefferson playing outside a little more, you'd have to go back to 2018 to see it repeatedly. But they're both these kind of inside guys with outside capabilities. I do think that Jerry Jeudy has a lot of potential to play the X, guys, to play the X on the boundary side. I saw him lined up quite often at the X on the boundary side. That might have had a lot to do with the fact that, you got Henry Ruggs who can play that Z, who can play that flanker role, so you didn't need him to play it quite as much. But just like we said about Justin Jefferson and Van Jefferson, he's one of these Michael Thomas / kind of Devontae Adams, kind of align him where you want to align him for the matchup kind of guys, right? If you go and you watch games like Michigan, definitely South Carolina and a few other games I watched, guys, I saw him lined up a lot as an X. Jeudy wins this route at the line of scrimmage because of how that corner is playing it outside. He did not seem afraid to play on that boundary side of the field. Being in tight spaces and all that, it didn't bother him because his route running is so good. Look, he's good at the releasing from the line of scrimmage, but he's exceptional at the top of his stem. I think that's where Jerry Jeudy is the best out of all these route runners, is when you get to the top of the stem. Watch that release off the line of scrimmage with that jab step, and then watch him sink those hips and separate him. Now, slot. He played a lot of slot, guys. A lot of times when I saw him streaking vertically, when he was really running downfield, separating from people in vertical routes, it did tend to come out of the slot more so than the X or the Z alignment. Not that he doesn't have the capability of getting, vertical on the outside, but just from the way things kind of played out, he seemed to get vertical more so from the slot this past season. Now, as a Z, what I saw Alabama doing when they utilized Jerry Jeudy as a Z, guys, is they really tended to use him in some very creative ways in the Z. This is where you see him kind of take on that Van Jefferson role almost, to where you're going to get these quick outs, these wide receiver screen field side in the stack set. Tell me it's not reminiscent of Van Jefferson yesterday. Screens these even swing passes.
And a swing pass here to Jeudy out in space.
That's where I saw them using him a lot, was kind of playing that Z position, that flanker positioning. I saw them using those type of routes with him.
So that time he turns back to the defense. He's able to locate Jeudy over the middle between.
Now, when it comes to Jerry Jeudy, there was also something I noticed a lot on film with this guy. Alabama did a really good job of using like bunch sets or stacked sets to give him free releases. Now listen, sometimes they used him as the person that was giving that free release for another player. Watch that hesitation on the release, and then he sells a slant right into that out route. Sometimes they used him, as the back guy on that stack set or that bunch formation to give him that free release. They used that wide receiver screen for Jeudy that time to really get him open field to play with. This kid, he worked out of those bunch sets pretty well, and this is something that, the chances of us getting Jerry Jeudy are pretty low, guys. But if you were to fall in the draft and we were to go get this kid, just imagining what we could do with him with Zach Ertz and Goddard and Greg Ward Jr. and like using these type of guys in a stacked set. I mean, D-Jax mixed in there, like, man, it would be exciting because this kid, he's really good at coming out of those bunched and stacked sets. I mean, he uses that chance for a free release to really, really the best of his ability, and it's pretty exciting to see it on film, guys.
Probably to the number 3. Jones from his end zone throws for Jeudy, and it's
Jerry Jeudy, the strength of his game, guys, if you haven't caught on to it yet, we all know it's his route running. But to me, there's nuance to this argument. Like, people will say automatically, oh, Jerry Jeudy's the best route runner. Yeah, kind of, guys. He's the best at the top of his stem. I think there are guys that are much better at the line of scrimmage in terms of the release. I think he's still good, and I still think he's in the top of that, but I don't think he's the best off the line of scrimmage in his release. With that said, listen, you put this guy in a trips formation with how good he is at that release, and then how elite he is coming out of those breaks. And the guy is special. I mean, take it past just putting him at the line, just putting him in a trips or putting him in a bunch formation. Put him in the slot and watch what he can do, guys. I mean, when he gets one-on-one with the guy, you better have a built-in zone to help cover him, because I'm telling you right now, this kid, his body positioning, he's just like Justin Jefferson in that he will sell the route with his entire body. So he'll get that entire corner leaning one way, opening those hips towards that side, because he's leaning in with his entire body before he sinks his hips and shoots back in the other direction. If you don't believe me, one of the most special plays I've seen any player make in terms of route running from this season, it comes from Jerry Jeudy and the way that he ran what's called a post out, or what some people might know as a blaze out. And he did this against LSU. I'm telling you guys, it's a thing of beauty to see it on film. Watch how he sells that slam with his entire body, then he sinks his hips and right to that out route. Jerry Jeudy's ability to get vertical really impressed me on film. I thought Jerry Jeudy and Justin Jefferson really showed an incredible ability to get vertical for these type of, position and guys that they are. I would say that, as much as I like Van Jefferson, and as much as I think Van Jefferson is just as good as Jerry Jeudy and Justin Jefferson in the intermediate routes and on those shorter kind of route trees, what really distinguished me about Jerry Jeudy and Justin Jefferson was that vertical element to their game that I thought Van Jefferson hadn't really demonstrated a whole lot of. I mean, you look at Van Jefferson, guys, and, from 2018 against SEC competition, he only received he only caught 4 passes that were greater than 20 yards. You compare that to like Justin Jefferson, and you compare that to a guy like Jerry Jeudy, and they're double digits in terms of the games. They're really good at this, guys. Justin Jefferson, I think, is a much better contested catch guy. Not that he has a huge catch rate or anything, but I just think he's better at going up against contested, 50-50 balls and making that play when compared to Jerry Jeudy. While Jerry Jeudy, with those head fakes and just how clean he is at the top of the route stem, creates a tremendous amount of separation, which gives him that chance to really get 3 to 4 yards on a guy. And Jerry Jeudy's really good at not flashing those hands too early. He doesn't look back for the ball until he knows he's got 2 or 3 steps on a guy. He's really good at all those little subtle things when it comes to his vertical route tree. This is a post seam route. Look at that head fake on that post right into that seam. Now, to finish my thoughts up on this guy, Jerry Jeudy. Listen, the one thing I will say is that he does have some concerning drops for me, especially on his film. You see it from time to time, but you know what? There's going to be drops on every guy's film. It's just a matter of if it's a third down and this is a pivotal moment where we need a completion, do I trust this guy's hands? I do. Bottom of your screen, aligned as the flanker. If this ball's thrown on time, it's a touchdown. I will also say that Jerry Jeudy, he can play across the middle of the field, but I do see some struggles on film from this young man from time to time, to where if it's a congested route where there's a lot of bodies in the middle of the field, I don't think he thrives in that situation. But hey, this is something that a good wide receiver coach could help this young man work with, and could add more to his game. So maybe he hasn't reached his full potential, and there is more room out there for this kid to improve. But congested areas where you're working across the middle, I do think that is a strategy I could see teams using against him. Bottom of your screen, guys, aligned as the split end receiver. Watch him try to work through this traffic. It doesn't work. Now, this is what I'll say in terms of his value. This is why I'm telling people don't be surprised if this young man is the first receiver coming off the board. It really begins with where these receivers are going to be drafted, right? The first team up that I think there could be a possibility, not discounting the fact that someone could trade up and really start this movement. I don't know about that yet, but at number 11, when you get to the New York Jets, they got no business taking a wide receiver. But, you can't predict the unpredictability of certain organizations. To me, you get a team like the Jets that go wide receiver in the first round. All they're doing is accumulating talent that they're going to have to trade a couple of seasons later to teams like Philadelphia that are back in the playoff hunt. You need a left tackle long before you go receiver. There's only so many tackles in this draft with first-round grades that are going to be projected starters. You're in an opportunity to go get that left tackle. You go get your left tackle. You don't float around and play with receiver. Then you get to Oakland. Oakland could take one at 12, but they also have the 19th pick as well. So Oakland may wait until the 19th pick to take their receiver. If Oakland were to take a receiver there at 12, guys, then I would say it could happen. That makes sense to me, that it could be CeeDee Lamb or it could be Henry Ruggs, because I think they're going to want a more dynamic guy. But here's where I'll say, if Oakland doesn't take a receiver there, I wouldn't be shocked if San Francisco doesn't come along, look at this film of Jerry Jeudy and go, that's the guy. That's the best receiver in this receiver class. That's where I think things could happen. That's where movement can happen. That's where a guy like, I could see Jerry Jeudy going. But we all know people could trade up. People could jump up, go back. Players teams looking at different players. I don't know. I just wouldn't be surprised if San Francisco is the first, team to take a receiver, if it's not Jerry Jeudy that comes off the board first. All right, y'all. These are my thoughts, but you already know I'm going to ask you. I want to know, what are your thoughts? All right, y'all. Y'all know what time it is. EAGLES. All right, y'all. I'm going to keep rolling these, the film out on these guys. So, hey, if you want me to cover certain guys, put them in the comment. If I can get to them, I'll get to them. But I can't make promises, guys. There's 1,000,001 receivers in this draft class. I'm trying to get through as many as I possibly can for you guys.